All right, Rob, thanks for hopping on today, joining the show. Uh, I got my cocktail,
I got my H2O.
and I got the coach. You're the coach today, and we have some questions for you, okay?
Awesome.
So I kind of know what you do, but tell everybody else what you do and kind of how and why you got into it.
Cool. So I'll try and keep this long story fairly short, but basically I was a two times kickboxing world champion and didn't really have a lot of struggles growing up. I kind of took to most things quite well, and it was only after winning kickboxing world titles that then I hit rock bottom. I almost achieved this massive thing and then was like, now what? Now who am I? And kind of stopped fighting, stopped competing, and then hit this really, really big depression where tempted to take my own life a couple of times, just couldn't get out of bed, was taking drugs, anything to numb the pain that I was feeling, because I just had spent 20 years training and defining myself as a fighter, as a kickboxer. Then all of a sudden I was like, who am I? So that time in my life really, like I was saying to you, was a blessing in disguise. But at the time, it was like going through hell. But it led me to develop some compassion for myself, some self-love. And it led me on this journey of self-discovery where I was reading all kinds of different books, all kind of coaching, all kind of spirituality, and just really digging deep into what's going on behind the scenes to get me to the stage where I'm at now, where I'm actually coaching people through similar struggles. And also as a side part to that was I was a personal trainer as well. And realizing that a lot of what was going on for my clients wasn't just about lifting weights and nutrition. There was much more going on behind the scenes that was actually stopping them from eating the good food and doing the training sessions. So it kind of helped me out, helped them out to get myself out the shit and figure out who I was, and also to help my clients figure out what's going on behind the scenes so that they can get the results that they want in their health and fitness, but in other areas of their life too, in their careers, with their relationships. So
Sweet. So out of that hardship, you kind of developed some purpose, because before you had purpose as a fighter, then all of a sudden you're done with that. You're like, what the hell's going on? I don't have any, what am I supposed to like identify myself as? Like, what am I supposed to like chase after, because every person needs a little battle to fight,
Definitely. It was almost like when I was fighting, I had this like just do it attitude, and I was able to just do it,
right?
Whereas when I was in that place afterwards, just do it wasn't a possibility. I wasn't able to just get out of bed. I wasn't able to just get in the shower. It was like, what the hell is going on with my brain? And that's what led me down that path of kind of study and into the neuroscience and coaching aspect of things, of what's really going on here, and led me to discover a higher purpose and a kind of a bigger reason to be on this planet of, I can, now that I've been through this, now I want to help other people, because it was something that I never understood all them years of fighting, because I'd done it since I was a kid, and it was just a case of get up, go to the gym, train. I didn't understand people's struggles, and then when I had this struggle myself, I was like, well, this has opened up my eyes to what it must be like for some other people.
And when you're in that, when you're so highly conditioned, not only physically but mentally, like fighting is literally like a programmed habit where you can just turn it on and off. It's
almost easy, to motivate yourself as well when you've got a fight. Say you've got 8 weeks and someone's training to kick the shit out of you. It's quite an easy thing to motivate you for. So when I was like with clients, it was like, and it was just, I want to lose a few pounds. They didn't have that big reason of like the fight. So it led me to kind of dig into that with people as well. Of what do you read out of this? How can we apply that into training as well?
Hey, Rob, it's a different story if someone's not trying to knock your head off. Like it's not like a survival thing anymore. It's like, I just want to feel better about myself and like things like that. So I can see why there's a hard time maybe connecting, and especially when maybe like you're so highly conditioned, you have such a good purpose with your life, and then you see someone else going through depression. It's probably at that time it's probably like, oh come on, you pussy. It's like easy, like what are you sad about? Go to the gym, like work it out.
Yeah, Exactly. I mean, even now that I don't struggle anymore, I even struggle to remember what it was like at times. Obviously, I get into that place with my clients where I have to get back into that mindset of compassion and empathy of, okay, that's where I was, and really understanding that. But it's like depression is one of them really hard things to explain, that when you've not been through it, and even when you have been through it, it's still difficult to understand and explain.
Yeah.
So
like especially if it's the first time you're not aware, right? Yeah. So happiness is, in my opinion, it's our responsibility. But if you don't know that you're in charge, if it's your first time experiencing this kind of confusion or like can't figure out why you're sad or pissed off all the time, it's hard to pull yourself out of that. And but the second time's a lot easier because you're like, okay, been here before. I know that it's happiness is my job. Like, I have to give myself a different focus. I have to like find something that has purpose, like, and kind of look after your human needs. Because if you don't have a purpose, if there's not progress in some area in your life, you're gonna fall right back into that. Like, if I'm kind of like coasting around, I don't have a very clearly defined goal for myself, which 90% of people don't have.
Yeah, they're just kind of surviving.
Yeah, then you can. Depression is like a guarantee, because you're not making any progress, you're not contributing to anybody. Like, there's no significance, there's no growth. So, kind of bring me back to your lowest point with that depression, and then kind of tell me, where was the light bulb moment that is kind of up to you?
Try and think of a light bulb moment. I mean, for me, the period of depression just felt like one long kind of numb block. It doesn't feel like, I can't remember specific days. I just remember being in my room, keeping the curtains closed, struggling to get out of bed, getting out and doing the bare minimum, kind of training clients, and then heading straight back to my bed quickly as possible. I think really for me it was when I started getting a coach myself, when I invested in coaching. So I had therapy and stuff when I was depressed, but I found that didn't really help me. It was only when I got a coach who helped me to find my purpose and stuff, and just to uncover some of my stories around depression. So I had a lot of stories going on around not being good enough, around being a failure, all of this stuff. And really the kind of the light bulb moment, or the changing point for me, was when I started to really define myself again and be like, okay, this is who I am. I am a great coach. I am a great trainer. I care about people. I'm compassionate. I have empathy. And I started to really practice that as a daily thing, until I started to believe them new thoughts. So it's almost just like training muscles to just keep practicing this, I'm enough. Right. And when I realized that I had this bigger purpose, and that the depression was actually sent as a gift for me to learn this purpose, that then I started becoming able to help people and just get on the phone, have conversations with people, support people, and actually start to openly talk about that struggle I went through on Facebook, and getting a lot of interaction and stuff via that, especially for men. And especially for fighters, so to speak,
right, like the alpha males of the population, like
it's like, you're not supposed to struggle with stuff because you're a fighter. Yeah. And I was like, hey, look, if I can be a world kickboxing champion and feel like this, then anyone can.
Yeah. No, it's especially for men. I mean, and it's because, first of all, we're not as social creatures. Like, we try to figure out our own problems all by ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And then not only that, if you're a fighter and you're in the top 1% of the population in the world, like physically, there's some ego involved. You're like, okay, I should, and then you kind of beat yourself up. I shouldn't be like this, right? I shouldn't be sad. I shouldn't be this. And unfortunately, we're human, and we don't really have 100% control over that. So now I know people still have good days and bad days, right? So now when you're having a bad day, how do you change it?
So the first thing, is the awareness. So, okay, there's something going on. The second step is I go straight to my journal and just start to write stuff down. And another big thing that I do is I get moving. So even if it's just to go out and walk, just a little bit of like neuroscience and stuff. But when you go out walking and start that rhythmic movement, it actually draws energy towards like your prefrontal cortex. So you actually get that logical part of your brain online. So them stories that you're creating, you start to go, yeah, of course you're good enough. Yeah, you are worthy. So as I'm walking, after 5-10 minutes, then them thoughts start to disappear and the logical brain comes back online. So a bit of really just getting into my journal and right, okay, this is how I'm feeling.
Right.
And this is why it's probably not true. Just start to really go in with a bit of exploration of what's going on in my brain. But yeah, journaling is massive for me.
I want to tap into that because I've kept a journal now for probably about 7-8 years. And it's cool to look back and see my growth. Like, when I first started, I'm just like, man, like, I was just a train wreck, you know? And a lot of people don't picture men as the journalers, right?
Yeah.
But it's something that helped me a ton just because if you're having a bad day, you can just go crazy on the page and try to leave it there.
Yeah.
You know? And not only, not only that, you can get into a habit like, so with my journaling, I write a lot of letters to people. They don't see them, but it's like letters in the future. Like, I play with my imagination, right? Like, my brother Phil. Hey, Phil, today was a great day. Like, I love having all the freedom that I need, and like, life has come so far. Like, and I go to this place that's not there now, right? And I kind of escape into the future. And not only am I like conditioning my brain to like receive those kind of situations, but it also like can kick me out of that depression, you know?
But do you find when you do that you can't stop as well? You end up writing 2, 3, 4 pages.
Yeah.
I mean, when I start to get into the future and like the vision, it's just once you start, your pen just won't stop, or you just don't stop typing. You just get really excited about it. You're like, yeah, this is a possibility. I could make it happen.
Yeah. No.
I mean, another thing that I've done as well is a similar one, but in the past. So I've wrote a Dear Depression letter, like, Dear Depression, this is how you made me feel. This is the shit you put me through. But then actually get to the stage where it's, I forgive you, and I actually appreciate you coming into my life. I appreciate that you gave me them lessons. Looking back, almost like a letter of forgiveness and a letter of appreciation. That almost lifted a massive weight off my shoulders. That was only recently, probably a couple of months ago, that I didn't realise I was still holding on to some of this guilt and shame around the depression that I hadn't fully let go. So I wrote that, and it was so powerful that I thought, this is going on Facebook. So I shared that, and again, it just gets like shared. Everyone's like, whoa, this makes so much sense. And people resonate with it.
So how did you discover because I kind of discovered the power of vulnerability by accident, just by like talking to a friend and be like, this is what I'm going through, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, dude, you need to write a book.
Yeah.
Like, or, you know, like little comments like that started popping up. I'm like, dude, I'm like basically crying on your shoulder right now. And you're like telling me that this is like inspiring. And then like, I discovered being vulnerable, like it helps develop relationships.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden you're a human.
Yeah. It's connection, isn't it? You get connection. For me, it was, I guess, when I first did a coaching course probably about 4 years ago, and the guy that ran the course recommended some of Brené Brown stuff, you know, who does talk power of vulnerability. So I got her audio program, I got some of her books, and just started really digging into that. And I was like, yeah, this is massive. This is why it feels good, and this is why so many people connect to it as well. And as a personal trainer and a fighter, it was always like, you don't show your weakness. You don't show any kind of vulnerability, especially as a fighter. And as a personal trainer, don't ever say that you've had a bad day. Don't ever say that you've ate a pizza. Make sure your clients think you're perfect. And I was like, this is not like helping people to connect with me. They just think I'm some kind of robot who just spouts this positive stuff all the time. Yeah. So I was like, actually, you know, here's me. I'm a pro fighter, and sometimes I have crap days and eat crap food and fall completely off the wagon, and that's all right. It's about self-compassion as well, self-love, and forgiving yourself in them times, or just giving yourself permission to do that.
Yeah. That's huge. I've wrote a letter to my old self. Like, I saw some kind of self-sabotaging ways coming back, And like I was in the same exact pattern again. I'm like, what the hell? This is like the third time, fourth time this has happened. One day at 3 a.m, went to a little coffee shop that was open. Or it's like a restaurant. And I just let my old self have it. I'm like, fuck you. I'm sick of you holding me back, blah, 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 blah. And like, that was a couple of years ago. From that moment on, like, things have been a little bit different. It's kind of weird how I just told that part of me, I'm done with you. You're not controlling me anymore. And then I got back to reading. And, it's amazing. Like, everybody that I hang out with reads, right?
Yeah.
But, like, the general population, like, the people that want help, they haven't really dug into the power of, like, reading, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's so much leverage, right? Because, like, literally you can take a guy on his deathbed that's 90 years old, and, like, he's been through shit storms, right? Over and over and over. And he's made it out alive, right? And not only that, he's given you the playbook.
Yeah.
Everything to avoid and how he overcame it. And literally in a week, you can understand, like, every lesson that this man who developed wisdom over 90 years thought was important. But for some reason, the general population they don't believe in reading. Like, when I ask people what their favorite book is and they don't know, or at least...
I mean, that's another massive, like, part of my morning routine is I get at least 10 minutes in just to read, because it just sets me up. Even if I wake up kind of in a bit of a funk, just read 10 pages of a great book, and it starts to kind of change the inner dialogue slightly to possibility instead of the negativity or the funk that you've waken up in.
Yeah.
You just start to change that.
Yeah, you get out of your mind what you put into it,
Yeah, exactly.
It's like you get out of your health what you put in your mouth, like what kind of work you put in the gym, like.
But it's most people watching the news, reading newspapers, scrolling social media aimlessly, and that's what they're putting into their brain. So that's what they're getting out of their life, because they're living in constant fear about terrorism and the economy, and something's going to get blown up, and there's money around, and it's a recession. So everyone's just running around with this kind of pre-programmed thing, instead of saying, no, I'm going to turn that off and I'm going to read this great book and actually put something useful into my brain.
Right. And our brain is working against us at all times, right? Because fear serves a huge purpose. It keeps us alive, right?
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it's way more powerful than oh, look at that beautiful cloud over there, compared to like, oh, there's a guy with a gun right here. Like, your brain's going to automatically look for the negative stuff because it wants to keep you alive, right?
Yeah. Survival first, isn't it? Because if you don't survive, you don't get to chase after your goals anyway. So,
yeah.
And like, that's really interesting. I mean, my approach really to coaching is a neuroscience approach. So looking at the reptile brain and the mammal brain and making sure they have their needs met, so that then we can be human and we can chase goals and we can get six packs and we can grow our business and self-actualize. But most people are running either on reptilian brain or on mammal brain. They're either just in pure physiological fear, so they're acting out of survival, or they're lacking or they're lacking social connection for their mammal brain. So they're very rarely human. So say with personal training clients, if I'm like, why have you not stuck to your diet this week?
Yeah.
If they're not in their human brain and the mammal brain is triggered because they're not connected to their wife or their husband, or something's happening at work, or they've got a lot of debt, and the reptile's running the show, the human wants to lose weight, not the reptile and the mammal. They don't really give a shit.
Right.
They're just like, yeah, well, we'll keep you alive today, eat this cheesecake, drink this wine, watch some porn, take some drugs, whatever, drink some alcohol, and tomorrow we'll worry about your goals.
Right.
So it's kind of keeping them stuck, because a lot of people don't know that stuff. They're like, they don't realize why they know they should eat some more chicken and some broccoli and drink some water and go to the gym. They know that. It's like, but they don't know why they can't do it.
Yeah. So I want to get back to the self-actualization in a minute, but so the lizard brain's your primitive brain, and just think of it this way: have you ever told a lizard to sit?
That tried.
No, it doesn't do it. It does. It just goes off instinct. It's not gonna respond to anything you tell it, right?
Yeah.
Like, so you have to go up a few levels, mammal brain, and then and then to the human part where you're self-actualizing. Now, you know, a lot of people that follow here might not know what that means. So kind of explain like exactly what that means, like coming into yourself and like the human part of it.
So yeah, for me, self-actualization is really about doing the things that you believe you're here on this planet to do. So whether that's to grow a business, start a charity, it's about being the best version of yourself, self-actualization. Mm-hmm. So you've got past survival, you're alive, you've got shelter, you've got food, you've got social connections, you've got a family, or even if you don't have the relationships and stuff, your relationship with yourself is good. You love yourself, you accept yourself, because that's the most important part to get it from. And then once them things are met, then self-actualization is, okay, what kind of impact do I want to have on this planet? What things do I want to do to make the world a better place? So like starting businesses, starting charities, getting promotions, doing degrees, learning more, all that sort of stuff is self-actualization for me anyway.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's like taking, let's just say you have a job that you don't like, you know, it has enough to pay the bills, so that takes care of that part, right? But let's just say you're stuck in a 9-to-5 you don't like. Your boss is always barking at you. Like, you have to, if you go beyond that 9-to-5 and you start developing a purpose, you can bring that purpose to the 9-to-5. Like my life's pretty easy now because I want to build long-term relationships, help people, and have fun, right? And I can do all three of these anywhere I go, pretty much.
Yeah.
Right? When I had a job, I could help everybody like become better at their job, or like, you know, like just help a random person by giving them a job, or like, and I can build long-term friendships throughout everywhere, and I can have fun in everything I do. You know, even like even like the shitty parts of life, right? I can like find a way to reframe it and make it work for me.
Yeah, I think that when you do have a bigger purpose of actually what you're trying to do on this planet, you can enjoy shitty jobs more because you can change your perspective on it. To just be like, okay, I'm doing this temporarily for the next 3 months or 6 months to say just pay my bills, but at the same time, as I'm doing that, I'm studying at night time to actually follow this coaching career or to set up this personal training business or whatever it is you want to do. So you can make meaning out of the things that seem shitty and have some appreciation for it. I think that's massive, the approach or the mindset that you have around certain things.
There's a lot of contribution and growth in what you just said, and those are, you know, two of the human needs. Like, we need to contribute if we want to be fulfilled, and we need to constantly making progress. And most people are accidentally asleep. They're like, they wake up, they're 30 years old, they're like, damn, I've been surviving, and that's it. So yeah,
I mean, we're getting programmed from an early age, and we don't realize. I mean, another part of my story was I was really lucky, I believe, to fail at university because I kind of feel like if I'd succeeded, then I would have just gone straight into that hamster wheel and just got it in a high-paid corporate job, and I would have still probably been doing that now. Whereas because I failed, then I almost had to self-study, and now I get to read what I want to read, study what I want to study, and I'm not constrained by the beliefs of, okay, you go to uni and then you get a 40 grand job and then a 50 grand job and then a promotion. It's like, now the books that I read, I'm like, there's no limits to any of that. And there's people, kind of, I did a sports degree, and I saw the people leave and jobs as teachers, and then they were really excited, and then as a year go by, you start to see the Facebook status has changed to, the school's starting again in a few weeks, and then 3-4 years down the line, it's like,
kill me now.
I'm done. So I kind of feel really lucky that I failed, so to speak. That was another blessing in disguise.
I was a very bad student too, so it worked out for my benefit. But people that were 4.0 or like A+ students, they're like, man, this guy's not going to go anywhere. But the funny thing is like, they're hoping to get to 65 and retire.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you look at the education system, my belief is that it's there to create robots and to create obedient citizens, isn't it? So when people say the education system doesn't work, it does the job that it's supposed to do, which is create obedient citizens and workers.
Clock in, clock out.
Yeah, and for me, for most of my school life and college life, I was like really good at repeating the information and getting really good grades. So it was a bit of a challenge when I had to start thinking for myself, because I was a really good repeater at school, and then I realised, what's the skill in this? What's the skill in reading this book, learning the facts, and then repeating it on some paper and then getting a good grade? I don't want to be that. And it was when I came out on my own, and I was like, well, all that stuff that I learned at school doesn't really serve me as an entrepreneur, doesn't serve me as a creator. I don't want to be that anymore. I want to learn what I want to learn and create my business how I want to create it, and work for myself and create my own freedom, basically.
Right. Yeah. So what do you think the most important thing is for someone who, let's just say they just hit bottom right now, right? They just, boom, crash landed. And now they're like, all right, I need something different with my life. I'm sick of living the same old life. I'm sick of making the same mistakes over and over. I'm sick of like settling for bad relationships. To pull someone out of that, what is one of the first couple things you would have them do?
I think a big thing is acceptance of the situation is massive. So almost the more you try and fight it, the harder it's going to fight back. So it doesn't have to be a battle. So a big thing when I was depressed was acceptance. And there was actually times when I could be lying in bed, depressed and not able to move, but at the same time feeling really happy, of just like, it's all right. I accept it. Like you can't hurt me when I accept you.
Yeah.
So that was one of the big things. And secondly is start to really practice I am enough. Being enough where you are right now. Because I think so many people put the emphasis on the goal, making them happy.
Right. When
it's actually about you coming from a place of self-love, self-acceptance, self-care, and really being enough and being worthy, so that the goal becomes something that you strive to achieve purely because you want to, not because you believe that by losing the weight or making the money or getting the relationship is going to make you happy. Because ultimately, when you don't feel like you're good enough, it doesn't matter what you achieve, you still won't feel good enough anyway. So it's about really accepting yourself, loving yourself, caring for yourself, forgiving yourself, and coming from that place as the starting point, and then just chase the goal because you want to, not because you think it's going to complete you or make you happy, because it won't.
Right. I think we've all went down that rabbit hole, and it's like you get there, you're like, damn, like I'm either less happy or just as happy I was when I had a penny to my name, like, and you mentioned, being happy now before the goal, right? And that's called, I read a great book called The Happiness Advantage. And the whole emphasis was people that are happy now, they do better at everything else. They're a better salesperson. They're more creative. They're more ambitious. And so be happy now, and it accelerates everything else.
Yeah, for me, it gives me resilience as well. So if I know that I'm enough and I go into a call with a prospect or a client and they say no, if I believe that I'm enough, that doesn't affect me mentally. It doesn't lead me to think that I'm not good enough and it's my fault. Whereas when I'm already beating myself up, when that client says no, or if that client says no, I'm like, oh, it's about me. I'm not good enough. I'm not a good enough coach. I didn't dig in deep enough with the call.
Yeah.
And that kind of knocks you off track. Or let's say if you're on a diet, if you don't believe that you're good enough, if you mess up one day or one meal, then you've just proved to yourself that you're not good enough, because you start saying, oh, you failed. Whereas when you love yourself, you just go, oh, okay, like you had a bit of cheesecake, you had a bit of pizza, that's cool.
Right.
Carry on.
Yeah.
So it makes you more resilient.
When does, so like I've seen like extremely lazy in all areas, right? I've seen extremely obese people kind of use that as a crutch. So where's the line where like someone's stuffing their face with McDonald's and they're like, hey, I love this extra stuff that I have here. Like I accept me who I am. And and they use that for habitual, like an ongoing habit of eating shitty. Like, that's not your point, right?
Yeah, definitely not. I mean, I've been down that path as well, where I've trained so hard my whole life.
Yeah.
And then started to look into coaching and neuroscience and the idea of making transformation and change fun and not so much effortless, but more fun. Mm-hmm. And then I kind of went full circle of, if it's slightly hard, then I'm going to stop doing it.
Right.
And then I almost went full circle where I was really, really hard working and put massive pressure on myself. Mm-hmm. To then, as soon as it got slightly challenging, I was like, this must not be right because transformation is supposed to be fun and easy. So yeah. now it's about that mindset shift of the fun is in the resistance and the fun is in the discomfort and in the challenge. So training sessions can be difficult and challenging, but it's about, for me, it's about kind of not punishing yourself. So you can go through a little bit of resistance, and it should be difficult, but there can be joy in that difficulty. But when it starts to become punishment and beating yourself up and being horrible, then that's when I think you're going to set yourself up for long-term failure, because you're going to punish yourself for 8 weeks, get the goal.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, actually, I hate it every second of that journey.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a fine balance. And I guess the answer is, it really comes down to exploration with the person. You know, what might be pleasure to you might be punishment to me. And, you know, you might love lifting heavy and going max all out all the time.
Right.
And I might want to go like sub-max and kind of lift 80-90% most of the time. But
yeah.
if that means I do that consistently, that's going to work more than going crazy in a gym session and going 100% all out and then I can't walk for 3 days. So yeah. I think it's down to exploration with the person.
Yeah.
Of where their level of comfort and discomfort is.
Mm-hmm. So I now only work out about 2 or 3 times a week for about 25 minutes each.
Yeah.
And like people are like, what? You know, I thought you had to go 7 days a week, 2 hours. I'm like, no, I don't want to spend my whole life in the gym.
Yeah.
Like, I want to go get the minimum effective dose and then come back and do things more important to me, right? Yeah. Like, I want to be in a shape enough to protect my family. Like, if someone attacks me in an alley, I want to be able to defend myself. If I have to throw my wife over a fence because someone's chasing us, I want to be able to do that without thinking. You know, like, there's certain things that I want to make sure that I'm strong enough and in shape enough for. Yeah. But at the same time, like, that's not my main focus. I'm not using this to build self-esteem, right?
Yeah. It's a purpose, isn't it? You've got a clearly defined purpose of why you do it. So, you know, you can go and take clear, concise action and then go and get on with your life.
Yeah.
I think that's the key there. It's having a purpose.
Mm-hmm. So, we talked about books. Give me 3 books that people could kind of dive into. And then when you're done with that, tell me what it would be like to have like a coaching session with you.
So probably 3 massive life-changing books that, I mean, I don't read as much as what I used to because I almost go back to the same books over and over again, whereas I used to be in that place where the answer is going to be in the next book that I read, when actually I figured out I already had the answers if I looked within myself. So the 3 that I really like are Conversations with God, which was I didn't read for ages because I was kind of anti-religion, anti-God. I don't believe in all that stuff, so I didn't read that. But it's a really good book around about self-definition and self-creation. So have you ever heard of it?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, it's a great book.
So that's an awesome book that I always go back to, both audio and reading. Psycho-Cybernetics from like the 50s, which is all about, you know, kind of your self-image and that you're never going to outgrow your self-image. So, you know, it's kind of like your autopilot for life. If your self-image is not in alignment with where you say you want to go, you're always going to stick with your self-image. So you'll never get long-term success.
Yep.
And then another one that I'm rereading again at the moment is Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. Man,
I've read that like 4 times. It keeps getting better.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, because every time you go back to a book, you just... you're a new person every time you read it, aren't you? So you take different things from it and different lessons, and you've evolved since the last time you read it.
Yeah, I remember the first time I read it, I was like, what the hell is this secret they're talking about? Like, just, I want to know. Tell me. You know, like the instant gratification monkey mind came into play. And then like I read it again a couple years later, and I'm like, oh yeah, that does make sense. And okay, and now I'm reading it this time. I'm like, dang, I have all these things down besides one. Like I just need to persist more. Like just keep persisting. Like it's like you can see the missing elements in like achieving your goals. Like if you go back to that.
Yeah, it is funny. Like I do like a lot of the kind of law of attraction stuff as well, but obviously with action, I think sometimes people misinterpret that law of attraction stuff, and they think if I just manifest hard enough, then I'll get it. But sometimes I'll say if I'm like looking to enroll a new client, and I'll message a few people, and none of them will message back. But then the next day, someone completely unrelated will message me and be like, "Hey, I've been watching your videos. Can we have a chat?" And I'm like, that's that law working. Like the universe is saying, "Yeah, I can see you putting the work in. Here, have this client. Speak to this person."
Are you a Conor McGregor fan?
Yeah.
Who isn't? I guess you could say.
Yeah, because he's huge, isn't it? Into that. Yeah. There's a lot of law of attraction came up after he. Right. Or before his fight, wasn't he? No, it was after the Aldo fight. It was after,
yeah. He's like, if you can speak it, if you believe it, and you can speak it.
And I mean, when I was fighting, at the time I knew nothing about the law of attraction, but I always used to do visualization. I always used to visualize the ref putting my hand up, used to visualize the belts, how I'm going to win. Had this like unwavering self-belief. At the time, I didn't know why I was doing that stuff. I just used to do it, but there's no way I would have become world champion without that. And it's only now that I understand why that worked.
Yeah.
Obviously, I put the training in as well.
And you took action, right? You ducked, you threw the hands, like you weren't just sitting there in the ring.
I put the training every day. I went for the runs. I did the train. I did the pad work. Did the sparring. Yeah. Obviously, like you can't just manifest world titles.
Go into the ring and be like, "Excuse me, sir, just."
Didn't manifest that bit very well.
Like, hey, that wasn't in the script. All right, excellent. And then, if someone does want to work with you, would it be something like this, where we just sit down face to face?
Yeah, I mean, I have a couple of programs where we either work face to face or have some kind of online programs where they go through modules and have support via a Facebook group where they actually learn a bit about how the mind works. So say with the PT clients, it's not just about here's your exercise plan, here's your workout plan, here's your diet, go do it.
Right.
And then if they don't do it, you go into that, you're just lazy, you're not listening to me, you don't want it bad enough. It's like, no, there's something going on. There's something going on with the reptile or the mammal that's keeping you in reactive behaviors. Yeah. Because actually the prefrontal cortex is what wants. The human is what wants the weight loss and that self-actualization. So my programs are really based around getting them human and figuring out what's going on with the reptile and mammal through exploration. And sometimes just when people understand how them parts of the brain work, they go, oh, that's why I've been repeating that pattern for the last 10 years.
Right, yeah.
And then giving them the tools to give the reptile and the mammal what they need so that they can be human. Because ultimately, to achieve any goal, you need your right prefrontal cortex to dream the vision. You need the left prefrontal cortex to create the logical steps to make it happen. You need to visit that part of your brain daily to say, okay, I want to lose weight in 2 months because it's important to connect to my wife, to connect to my partner, to be happier. And these are the logical steps I need to take. Eat more vegetables, eat more protein, drink water. And you need to keep going into them parts of your brain. But what happens is the mammal brain gets triggered. Say you have an argument with your wife or your girlfriend. Then the mammal's like, my social connections are not happening, like they're breaking down. So then the mammal brain goes, forget about your goal, eat some cheesecake, drink some wine, give yourself some love and connection now because you're losing it. And or let's say you're on a diet, but all of your friends are out drinking beer and eating takeaways, or your wife is, then that it's like the social disconnect there. So it's really digging into what's going on in the brain so that you can become human. And then you can apply that to like any goal. I mean, the two areas I work in is kind of weight loss and health and fitness, and developing your purpose and your passion as well. So figuring out what you're on this planet to do. So it's called the Champion Project. So it's about helping people to feel like champions. Because I was a champion who didn't feel like one. What's the point in being one if you don't feel like one? So and it's about being human, just getting people into that human brain. and then everything just becomes a lot simpler. You stop reacting, you start responding, and life just becomes more logical because people are making illogical decisions, but they don't realize why they're making them, because it's not them that's running the show, it's the mammal and the reptile that are taking over. They're like, well, I really, really want to lose weight. I really, really want this, but why do I keep drinking too much? Why do I keep eating junk food? And and it's kind of that cycle that happens every day. They're just like, what's going on? So it helps to explain that so they can stay human.
Well, that's good. Obviously, it'll be the face-to-face for any of my people. I think most of the people that follow this show are in the States, so it'd be Skype to Skype, like camera to camera.
yeah. I mean, that's the beauty of Skype, isn't it? And Facebook Live and stuff. I mean, I have clients in Dubai, I have clients in Canada, I have clients a couple of streets down the road. So it's just like you can work with anyone in the world, which is awesome.
So where can people find you on social media?
I'm pretty simple with that stuff. Just if you search Rob Stevens on Facebook, I'm always putting posts out and videos and content and stuff just on my personal page, and have a couple of private groups called the Champion Project, just a little free group. So if anyone wants to go in there, then just send me a friend request and ask to be added in, and they can go in there.
Excellent.
And we can get into conversation that way, or just consume the videos and get some support through that.
Right. Well, hey, I would just want to take a minute and let you know that what you're doing is important, right? Look, I appreciate when people kind of dedicate their lives to something bigger than themselves, even though it can come down to a selfish thing because you want to contribute, right? But like literally, you're making an impact in people's lives, so I appreciate that about you.
Of course, it's having that purpose, isn't it? And that's the driver to keep going, is having a bigger purpose, and what that legacy that you want when you come to the end of your days, whenever that is, to look back and say, yeah, I did what I was supposed to do when I was on this planet.
Right.
Yeah, and then wherever we go next, who knows?
Yeah. Well, I'll find out someday, but now it's just a guessing game. All right, Rob, have a good day, man. I appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you. You too, buddy.
All right.